investigation was not about the president. Jim Comey told the president that 3 times in their meetings, because that never has been the center of the investigation, nor is the role of the special counsel to go try to get an indictment of the president. His role was very clear, to see if there's any criminal activity among the campaign.
I want to know what the basis is for that statement by Rudy Giuliani, and whether it was just an offhand view by one of the attorneys with the special counsel, or whether it was a pronouncement by the special counsel himself.
Well, the breaking news today, Rudy Giuliani telling our own Fox News, John Roberts, that the special counsel will follow DOJ guidance that the president cannot be indicted. According to Giuliani, Mueller has no choice, and they're obviously pushing for this to come to a conclusion. What does this all mean? And let's look at what the Senate put out, the Senate Intelligence Committee and Judiciary Committee today. Let's bring in our panel here in New York. Former White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer, Caitlin Huey-Burns, national political reporter for Real Clear Politics, and Bill McGurn, mainstream columnist for the Wall Street Journal. Okay, Ari, your take on the news about Giuliani and what was said today.
Well, it's significant, but I wouldn't say the president's home free. So long as there is a special counsel investigating, no president is home free, and neither is the staff or the people who worked on the campaign. We have to wait for Bob Mueller, and only then are people home free. So it is significant, because if Rudy Giuliani is right, and I'd like to hear this also from the Department of Justice and reinforcing what Giuliani said, then it's a significant sigh of relief in the legal sense. But as we all know from what Bill Clinton went through, this is a political exercise in addition to a legal exercise. The real jeopardy also becomes Congress and the American people. If the American people think crimes were committed, it will hurt Republicans in elections and hurt the president in a re-elect. So a lot more needs to be said. And having said all that, I still see no evidence of collusion. I don't think there's been collusion from the start, and particularly the most pernicious, which would have been any involvement from the Trump people in hacking Hillary or Podesta's emails and disseminating them, which is what this was all about.
I mean, the other development was that the Bob Mueller team subpoenaed the social media director for Roger Stone today, and we also had the release of some Senate documents. Put it in perspective for us, Kayla.
Right. Well, the Senate documents really confirmed what the intelligence community said, which is that Russia meddled in the election to help Donald Trump. And now that's different from the House assessment. The House assessment, of course, the president was cheering on. But we've seen how different those committees have operated.
Senator Lankford tried to straighten that out about, the difference in the committees, saying that they were looking at a specific area. But go ahead.
Sure. So I think the bigger point here, though, is that the Mueller investigation continues. The president it is hanging over his administration, certainly, and he has expressed frustrations with that. I am interested to see, though, how the public starts to react the longer that this goes on. You have seen in polling a slight dip in people's perceptions of the investigation. You've seen Republicans, by a large margin, really oppose that. And you've seen candidates running for office on the Republican ticket evoking the president's language that this is a witch hunt. So, the president reshuffled his legal team because he didn't think that he was getting the best advice, and he wanted to have a more combative nature with the special counsel. And so we'll see kind of how Giuliani handles this in this new space.
Bill, your take?
Yeah, I think it was a good day for 2 reasons. One is I think it's good that the committees release their findings, because I think at the root of our system is political accountability, not criminal liability, but political accountability. And what the American people need is to know what happened. And the longer we go on, the more questions we have about our intelligence community and so forth. And it seems the less evidence there is about Donald Trump. So that's one side. The other thing, I think, Mr. Giuliani's comments, good. Think about what this says. The special prosecutor, who ostensibly works for the Justice Department, is going to follow Justice Department guidelines, and that's a news story. I find it incredible. I mean, I think the proper venue for most of this is Congress, and it's amazing to me that Congress has been stonewalled in its pursuit of many of the documents, and it's taken a backseat. We've kind of looked to criminalize political behavior when the first accountability should be to the American people through their elected representatives.
There's a lot we don't know about the start of the investigation, and there's a lot that just does not add up with that. I mean, there's a lot of people looking at it, but Capitol Hill hasn't come to that conclusion either.
No, and to quote Charles Krauthammer, this has been one of the greatest issues we've ever seen where it's all smoke and no fire. And this is what we keep chasing. And this is why I keep coming back to the core issue. Did anybody in the Trump campaign work with Russia to hack Hillary or Podesta's emails or work with WikiLeaks to disseminate them? The answer is no, and nobody yet in 2 years, almost 3 years, has come out with any evidence to support either of those. If the answer is no, what are we doing? Where is this going? We're indicting people for financial fraud and other things having nothing to do with the president? Fine, it has nothing to do with the president.
Anything come from in your assessment of that transcript, the 2,500 pages from the Trump Tower, struck you that Donald Trump Jr. didn't know whether his dad knew or not? What
right.
struck you?
Well, the interest in this meeting, of course, is because of the question of collusion, right? Whether Trump associates were amenable or open, receptive to any help from Russian agents. And what we don't know is what Donald Trump Jr. knew or didn't know. I thought it was interesting how he said that he didn't really talk to his father about it, but he also said in various exchanges that he didn't know or couldn't recall. And so I think this provides a more detailed assessment of that meeting, but still I think there are a lot of questions. I think the broader question, of course, is when will this wrap up and what will come of it? You've had lots of indictments on Russian meddling, of course, that the administration has acted on, but on the issue of collusion, you do have a lot of people asking, when is this going to be answered?
Final word on this, and I want to do a round on North Korea.
Yeah, well, you know, my saying is special counsel's corrupt, independent counsel's corrupt, absolutely. There's a reason we're at this stage and we're finding no evidence and we're going on. So it'd be nice if we do get to a conclusion. I agree with Caitlin. I think also a lot of people are getting tired, but they're not getting tired because of the search. They're getting tired that they're not seeing, as Ari says, any hard evidence. We keep sort of spinning our wheels. The pages today are sort of interesting. They give a lot more detail and granularity. But we knew from Donald Trump Jr.'s email what he went to this meeting to see and so forth. So I'm not sure materially it adds. And what we don't know, what we really don't know, is why and when the FBI launched the investigation. We know what they say, but we're not yet clear on why they
In the
actually did.
vacuum of all this, as Caitlin mentioned, the president's poll numbers are going up.
Yeah. Right. Well, they haven't found any of the evidence on the main attack against him. So, you know, you would expect that. Plus, if the economy's getting better, why wouldn't it go up?
Okay, North Korea. It looks like it's, you know, touch and go whether this summit's happening or not. Your thoughts? You've been around the block with the North Koreans. They don't really, you know, keep up with promises all the time.
I've been a cynic all along on this détente with North Korea because I've lived through it before. I've seen North Korea lie, deceive, say that they'll stop enrichment of uranium only to start developing plutonium to pursue a nuclear weapon. They say we got rid of our nuclear weapons, but then they have 50 more. They got rid of 10, they kept 50. This is North Korea. So I think President Trump should proceed with a military drill with South Korea. Do not back down. You back down 1 inch to the North Koreans, they will roll all over you. Be tough, be firm, and I expect if the summit goes on, be tough, be firm there. But the real issue is going to be the months and the years after an agreement, if there is one that's reached. Because the history is North Korea, they'll deceive us. So the pageantry of an agreement is not as important as North Korea actually doing what they say.
Does it happen?
Well, it's interesting because the president, it's very clear he wants to make some kind of deal here, right? He has driven in large part by being able to do things his predecessors weren't able to do. He says that himself. He's also, you know, invited conversations about the Nobel Peace Prize. So I think I'm wondering kind of how that plays into how North Korea is thinking about this, whether they can exert leverage knowing that the president wants this so badly.
Percentage, Singapore, June 12th.
Yeah, well, I think there will. I think there will be a meeting. I'd say 90%. I think that they'll meet because it's always in the North Koreans' interest to meet. They make an agreement that they don't frequently abide by. Look, I think Ari's right. We have to keep our eye on the ball. All right, the ball here is not letting them to get the capacity to strike the United States with a nuclear missile. In a way, it's Donald Trump's red line. And we're to where we are because he's been tough, and I think he should be tough. And I'm glad that John Bolton's there, and I'm with John Bolton. If we're going to have a deal, I'd rather a Libya-type deal than an Iran-type deal.
All right. Panel, thank you very much.